The 2024 Tournament of Champions winner Marshall Kent stops by the show and shares his TOC experience, along with what it means to him to win his first major and more. I'm Timm Young, and this is The Bowler's Mind. Hey, Marshall, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So first of all, congratulations, obviously, on winning the TOC. It's a big major and very exciting for you.
So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So I guess let's start at the beginning of the stepladder. Obviously, it was kind of a rough start there. What did you learn throughout the stepladder to help you be successful?
I mean, I knew they were gonna be hard. I mean, that pair is just notorious for being harder than the rest of the pairs in the house. And then, I think first match I was fortunate for Sterner to open the first three or four frames or something like that to give me a kind of a comfortable lead. And I think I figured out that the right lane was going to be playing different than the left lane by quite a bit. It just felt like there was a significant difference between how to play the two lanes. And so I just kept an open mind about it, like I had all week, and trusted what I saw. And my tour rep, Jason Wojnar, helped me out in making some of the ball call decisions and where to play. And so it was just really about kind of staying patient and getting really lucky sometimes.
For the Tournament of Champions, do you guys get topography for the lanes?
No, we don't get like a topography book or anything like that, but we bowled there enough times that I actually have a set of notes in my phone that tells me the difference between the pairs. Like I have every pair mapped out in that building, so that definitely comes into play and helps out a lot during the week, especially when you bowl that many games.
A lot of the shots seemed to push really bad if you got it to the right a little bit. Was that kind of how you saw it?
Yeah, it was weird because you had to have your steep angle to get the ball through the front part of the lane, but then it had to pick up before it got to that hang spot. So if you got a little fast at all, or missed it at the bottom, or a little steeper at all, it would hit that hang spot and almost accelerate to the right and just completely miss that pin, have no chance. But then if you didn't have the steep angle to get there, it checked up early and 3-6-10 every single time. So they were just, you had to play those angles and try and take that chance at, if I miss it a little bit, it's going to miss the head pin. Or if I cut it short a little bit in my big four, they were just hard.
So in the 10th frame of the final game, you're up with a chance to close out the match. How fast was your heart beating at that moment?
It was, it actually wasn't too bad, or didn't feel too bad, but the problem was that was the first time during the entire stepladder that the thought of winning popped into my head, and I let that thought take over a little too much instead of sticking to that process, and got the result that happened. But fortunately enough, the three shots before that were good enough to where it ended up allowing me to make that mistake and still come out on top somehow. I mean, Simon threw two of the best shots you could throw to win on that pair in that situation. He's unbelievable. And I was fortunate today. I was fortunate that day.
So you mentioned process. Out on tour, how important is staying process oriented to being successful?
It's huge. You can't be results oriented, because if you're so hung up on the results, you're going to forget what your process is, how to go through your pre-shot routine, how to go through your progression in your arsenal, how to make your moves correctly. If you're so caught up on the results, then you become blind to everything else. And so just having that process, and then being able to come back off of an errant shot or a misspare, a mistake like that, you have to have your process for that as well, because you can't hang on to that for 3 or 4 frames, because that's going to cost you anywhere from 10 to 40 pins. And how many times have we missed the cut by 5 pins, or sometimes we miss the show by 10 pins because we're so hung up on that one missed spare for those frames. And imagine doing that over the course of 42 games. So
Sure.
it adds up very fast if you let it.
So after that 10th frame, you went back to your seat and you had your head in your hands. What was going through your mind at that time?
That I just gave it away.
Mm.
That it's like I had a chance and I lost it, and it was a feeling. It was a very low feeling, and I think that's why I was so emotional too, because I felt pretty low because I know how good Simon was when he needs it, and uh, like I had a chance and I lost it, and then all of a sudden he brings tens, and it becomes real that it just happened, and so you go from like this super low, empty feeling to the craziest high you could ever feel. It was it was a wild ride, that's for sure.
Well, I have to admit, I actually got myself a little bit emotional when I saw you go over. And you got emotional and you hugged your mom and your girlfriend there, and I think at one point you even handed your mom the trophy, which I thought was really special. Um, but obviously, I know there was one person that you wish could have been there, and that's your dad who passed away. If he were here now, what do you think he would have said to you on that day, and what would you have said to him?
Obviously, would have said, "Love you, Dad," and he would have come back and said, "I'm so proud of you, Budro."
Hmm.
It's just something he's always said when things go well growing up, and he called my brother and I Budro a lot, so so that's his little thing, and I know he'd be hugging me saying that if he could.
So, what did it mean for you to win your first major?
It's what I've been dreaming of since I started bowling, and I think it's a I always felt like I had glimpses of brilliance where a major title was doable, but never really, um, never really closed the deal and never got put in a position where I could close the deal out. And I got, I think I've made before that 8 or 9 major shows before that last week, and I felt like I could do it. It was only a matter of time if I put in the work and do everything that I'm supposed to do. And so before the season started, I've worked harder for the season than I ever have for any season. And that day, I just had the luck on my side that I needed to, and I feel like I rebounded a lot, threw really good shots, never really gave up, never got too high, too low, and it's the icing on the cake that tells me that I'm doing the right thing. So
Hmm.
that's a amazing feeling in its own.
So, you're a two-time College Player of the Year. You were the 2014 PBA Player of the Year. You're a current member of Team USA, and now you've just added the TOC to your list of accomplishments. Would you share your bowling journey and what led up to all the success?
Well, if we go back to the very beginning, um, it was my parents bought a bowling center in Yakima, Washington before I was born, and it was basically like my daycare growing up. Uh, they put me out on the lanes for 4, 5, 6 hours while they work, and I'd just go push the ball down the lane. And at the end of the day, they'd drag me by the back of my collar, my shirt, kicking and screaming, and trying to get me out of there, and didn't do it all again the next day. Uh, and then I got started into the junior league at Nob Hill, and then that turned into like the local Pepsi sectionals and Pepsi state tournament. Ended up winning the sectional tournament at like 13 years old, and it kind of at that point it was like, I should take this for a little more seriously. Like I think I can compete, and then ended up going to junior gold a couple times. Bowled about every JBT you could up here. Um, Missed the cut at junior gold my first 3 years in a row by single digits,
Hmm.
and then ended up coming out and winning the whole darn thing my 4th year.
Wow.
And that was kind of the next stepping stone to reassure me, said like I can compete with these guys, like I can do it at this level. And then I won the North Point High School championship the very next week after that. And then after that, I went to Chicago to go on a campus visit at Robert Morris University and meet the coaches, and um, then it turned into a college scholarship. So, like, all right, cool, I'm going to Robert Morris. And then after that, got into college, had a great group of guys to bowl with. They were just phenomenal, and they were all phenomenal players. And I was fortunate enough to share the lanes with them, and then ended up bowling some. Ended up bowling for Team USA and having some success there, which was crazy. Junior Team USA, Team USA. I think I made the adult team my freshman year, my freshman or junior, sophomore year in college. So then I got to Chris Barnes and Tommy Jones, Bill O'Neill, and all of them were on the team at the time still. So I got to learn with them, and then that blessed me with the opportunity to bowl the U.S. Open a couple times before graduating college, and I had some success at that level too. And again, that was one of those little stepping stones. Like I think I could do this, and then it turned into the PBA career. Tom Clark messaged me when I was in college and said, just let me know when you're joining the tour. I'll send you the paperwork or whatever for your membership. And so basically the day I was done bowling in college, I sent a message and said, I'm ready. And then we got started.
Going back to Team USA and your opportunity you had there bowling with some of the veterans of the sport, what would you say is one of the biggest things you learned from them?
That I had to get a really long arsenal of one-liners and get really witty. I think I just learned a lot of like little simple tricks that like it kind of hard to pinpoint all of them, but I think one that really stands out. One time I think we were on the lanes at camp, and I think it was Bill that said this. Bill was talking about how he two-pinned and moved left, and that did not process with me at all. Because I didn't really, I wasn't the greatest at understanding ball motion back then. So it blew my mind that he would say that he went light and two-pinned and then moved left off of it. What do you mean? What did he do that? He says, well, the reason is the ball didn't hook because it burned up all of its energy in the front part of the lane, and then didn't have anything stored to come back off of it. And it was like, I never even thought about the front part of the lane. I just watched it hook down there, and based off of that, I never ever would have thought of that. And so then I started watching him a little bit and put tape on my ball to see where it starts to flare up. And I was like, huh, it really does do that sometimes. That's wild. But that was just like one of those little tidbits that really stood out to me that I learned from bowling with those guys.
Most of the time, most bowlers look at the arrows. That's what they're targeting. So the first, 15 feet of the lane, you really don't ever see with your eyes. You're just seeing everything from that point beyond. With him recognizing that his ball was burning up and that's what it was doing, was there anything he shared with you that helped you see that ball as it's getting into its roll early, or what he was seeing, I guess, past that 15-foot point that would give him that information?
When he was telling that, there's like a story from a tour event, and when we were bowling at the ITRC, and I never really actually got to watch it physically happen, but I don't remember which tournament it was. There was a couple tournaments in a row where I got to see it happen with my own ball reaction, and I think it's one of the hardest things to see, because I feel like 90% of the time I don't even see it. I just like my rep Woj will come down and say your ball's just burning up. I said, really? I thought this pair was just tighter. He goes, no, it's losing energy. Wow. Okay. It's one of the hardest. I think that's one of the hardest things to teach in bowling is when your ball's burnt up, because like you said, you're not looking at the first 15 feet of the lane, and sometimes it hooks at 10 feet and it's done, and it's hard to trust that. And I think I've told a couple people that the way you can tell your ball is burning up, in my opinion, is that when you when you throw a shot and it doesn't quite hook in the light mixers, and then you ball down and it hooks out the building.
Mm,
Because then obviously it's not because if the pair was tighter, the ball down would go even further.
right.
But because it comes off it harder, it means the ball before that is just burning up in the front. So that's probably the simplest way to put it, to be honest. But
How do you mentally prepare for competition and tournaments in general?
I'll uh, I'll actually put my AirPods in and listen to one song, something kind of catchy, upbeat. I'll listen to one song over and over and over again and play it in my head. And for me, that gets all of the other uh, all the other variables that are going on, like with the let's say the camera lights and the practice and trying to get full balls ready. Your mind's going a million miles an hour trying to make sure everything's in place. So what I'll do is I'll make sure everything's in place, and then once it's done, put my music in and just listen to one song over and over and over again. And it seems to help me get everything. It narrows my focus down just to that song, so I'm not thinking about all the other 100 things that are going on.
Mm.
That seems to help me out a lot and keep me, grounded and uh, not worry about what's going on over here or where my stuff is over here. Just staying in the moment. And I know everybody has their own process, but that's kind of mine.
What is your strategy for, because it happens to all of us in a league night or in tournament where you just get lost. The lanes aren't playing the way you think they should. What is your strategy for getting unstuck or getting out of that lost point?
Don't be afraid to think a little more outside the box. Um, that's kind of that's a tough question to answer because it's so there's like 1,000 ways of doing it right and 1,000 ways to do it wrong. So that's why it's kind of like sometimes you have to think outside the box and make the crazy move you never thought you would to be able to find it again. But I think the biggest thing is just trust yourself to see what your ball is doing and trust that you're throwing it good enough. Because I think a lot of people, the mistake they make is that their ball's not doing the right thing, but they just think they're throwing it bad.
Hmm.
I think I hear that so often with league bowlers. Like, I just didn't throw a good day. My mark didn't work. It's like, well, you probably threw it better than you did last week. You just didn't make the right move.
Hmm.
So I guess my advice for that would just be keep a very open mind and don't be afraid to try things that are out of the normal because you never know. You could stumble upon something and then you learn a new trick, and that trick all of a sudden comes into play every other week. So, I just wouldn't be afraid to try something. I shouldn't say dumb, but try something way out in left field.
What is the hardest and the easiest part about bowling for you?
Hardest part is getting out of my own way, and the easiest part is probably laying out my bowling balls.
Mm.
Because I have two layouts. I go above the middle, below the middle finger. That's it. Done. Super simple. I can't think of anything that's simpler than that. So, but yeah, definitely the hardest part is allowing myself to just bowl and staying out of my own way.
Mm.
And people ask me all the time, so who's your toughest competition out there? It's myself. Because I got to let myself bowl. And when I let myself bowl, I usually bowl pretty well. And when I don't bowl very well.
When you're up on the approach, do you have a way that you kind of try to keep your conscious mind occupied so your subconscious can just bowl, like you said?
Yeah, that the whole music thing starts to come into play a little bit. My conscious mind will think of the music, the tunes, whatever, and then I can just get up and let my muscle memory and my subconscious take over and just do what it's done thousands of times before.
And you already kind of mentioned the music a little bit, but how do you manage the nerves when you're under the hot lights, just like the TOC, and you're the only one up bowling and everyone's watching you and you want this shot? How do you manage the nerves?
Just breathing and routine. take a couple deep breaths to slow the heart rate down, or try to slow the heart rate down, or control it. I mean, it's hard to get it to come down to normal. It's just not going to happen. When you're bowling a match on TV, it's not going to be as low as your qualifying heart rate, but you can try to control it. And then after that, it's kind of just you come down to your training. Well, there was a saying, it's like when pressure hits, you stoop to the level of your training. It's some sort of saying like that, but you basically, that's when you depend on your pre-shot routine, your breathing routine, and everything like that, so that you can allow your subconscious to take over again and just make it a routine, like you've done it before, over and over and over again. So the more familiar you can make it feel, the easier it is to make the shot.
So it wouldn't be a bowling show if we didn't talk at least a moment about equipment. Do you have a favorite piece of equipment right now that you're just really comfortable with, that you like the ball shape and it's working well for you?
Yeah, I actually have 5 go-tos right now. Because obviously being with Hammer and the Brunswick family, there's a lot of bowling balls that come out, and I honestly just don't have time to drill every single one that comes out. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm still a couple releases behind, so I'll have to talk to the guys and see, hey, is this one pretty good? Just what do you think of this one? Where does this fit? But my basic 5 that Woj and I talked about are the Envy Tour, the Stealth, the GB5, the Black Widow Hybrid 2.0, and the GB4 Hybrid. So I'll have those 5, and then if we see something crazy or feel like we have a gap in that, what we're seeing on that pattern that week, we'll say, okay, let's try this thing. Let's see if this will fill that hole, or maybe we'll try this ball to try to give us something a little earlier, a little smoother, something to fill that gap. But those are basically the 5 balls that I've probably drilled 20 of each.
What things do you like to do off the lanes? Hobbies, anything like that?
A lot of golf, golf, fishing, hunting. I think the majority of a lot of us out here play golf. Actually, I just got done playing with EJ for the last couple of days in a row. So when we have our week off or a couple of days off during an event, we'll go out for a round or two. And then I enjoy my fishing and hunting and hiking and being outside.
They were even talking on the telecast how EJ seemed to be favoring his shoulder, but yet he still went and played golf day or two before the TOC championship show. So, so was he with you at that point?
Yeah, actually, we played 2 days before the show.
Okay.
And it didn't bother him. It doesn't bother him when he plays golf. He says it just bothers me when I shoot a spare.
How would your friends and family describe you?
Well, you'd get 2 separate answers. My family would describe me in one way. My friends would probably say I'm an asshole or something like that. I don't know if I can think of a good answer for that one, to be honest. I don't really know. That's a tough question. That's a good one. Hopefully they describe me as just genuine and fun to be around. I think I feel like I'm kind of fun to be around.
Those are good qualities.
Yeah.
What have you had to sacrifice to get where you are now?
I don't feel like I've really made any sacrifices, to be honest. Well, maybe some time with some family, being away for tournaments, but there's really nothing that I feel like I had to give up in order to do this, if that makes sense. Like, this has just been it's been kind of the road for many, many years now. And I don't really think there was ever going to be another, I mean, there wasn't going to be another like job opportunity that I would have taken over doing this, or another, anything, anything like that. So yeah, I don't really feel like I made any sacrifices that I can think of. Now maybe when we're done with this and we get off and we're like, oh, should have said that.
That's okay. It's all right.
But
This question's a little bit of a deep question. Um, what are your personal beliefs on what you feel like it means to be human and experience life?
man, you're getting deep. I like it. um, I've always been a big believer that, nobody's perfect and you just do the best you can. And I've always been a big believer in treat others the way you'd want to be treated, be respectful to each other.
Hmm.
And just, just smile, you know. I think we get so wrapped up in little problems that in a day, a week, a month, they have no significance in your life whatsoever. So, um, why let it bother you? Just smile. Then you don't know what other a smile or a hug to somebody else could make or break their day.
Hmm.
You never know what anybody's really truly going through that you don't know. So why treat them, disrespectfully or mean because maybe they look like they're going through a rough time.
Hmm.
Just be kind, be respectful, be humble, and be grateful. I think I just saw a quote the other day too. It was like, keep your head up through the struggles and keep your head down in the success or something like that. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, you go through, you struggle with anything, sports, relationships, whatever, any sort of struggle in life. Just keep your head up and it'll all work itself out. And then when things come to you and you're successful, just keep your head down. You don't need to boast your chest about it. Be grateful for it and always be humble and don't ever let that change you.
What is your definition of success?
I think everybody's definition could be different. Uh, I think personal success is different than what an outsider's perspective on success would be. Like obviously, an outsider's definition of success is being the top, the win, being number one. But there's a lot of personal successes that go unnoticed, and I think it's kind of more up to the individual's opinion of what success actually is. Um, and we kind of see it in the bowling world too. Like my definition of success could be different than a lot of different people's because obviously I want to win. I always want to win, and my definition of success is winning. But maybe for someone who's just trying to come out and going through the PTQ ranks, the definition of success is getting out of the PTQ and making the cut that week, getting points to try to get into the exempt field. So, um, really, I think success is a personal opinion.
What makes you feel most alive?
When I'm either sitting in the mountains, middle of nowhere, with a bow in hand, or in the middle of a stream with a fishing rod in hand.
Who or what has been your greatest teacher?
uh, my dad, actually. Um, he's God, he was so smart, and it's funny. Even with bowling, growing up, he was my main coach for my entire life, and he would tell me to do something when I was younger, and of course I'm stubborn. I wouldn't listen, and then 2 weeks later, I'm doing it. He comes down, and he goes, "I see you doing the thing." He goes, "Yeah, you're right." Eventually, I just learned to suck it up and just know that he was right every time and just do it.
Right.
But uh, I mean, even outside of bowling, just life in general, he was my greatest teacher because it, he taught me how to fish, how to hunt, how to golf, how to bowl, and just how to be a good human and be there when someone needs you and never ask for anything in return because he would do anything for everybody and never ask for anything back. And, seeing all the posted and everything about him, when he passed, it really hit home. Like I was always inspired by it, but seeing how big of an impact he made just by being himself and just like I said, being helpful and never asking for anything in return. It was really eye opening and it was really inspiring to see that.
Well, it definitely sounds like your dad had a life well lived.
Absolutely did.
Well, last question. Would you share your favorite bowling memory? Which might be a very recent memory, but what is your favorite bowling memory?
I would say that one's probably pretty easy now. Definitely a lot easier. That's going to be the icing on the cake, because of what it is. It was major, and not only that, but I had my girlfriend Sandra there, and I had my mom Susan. Like mom, growing up, didn't really get to watch a whole lot of my bowling stuff because she was always working at the bowling center. So, like when we go to junior gold, a lot of time was dad, and so to be able to have her come out, and she's gotten to see me win twice now this year, which is incredible. To have her be able to see the whole week in person and be there and watch hold the trophy has been amazing. And then, Sandra's seen me pretty low, like when we first met, and not long after we met, I was kind of in a lower point of my life, and she always stuck by my side. She never gave up on me, and now she's gotten to see me at the top. And so it's been kind of a wild ride, but she didn't have to stick around, and she did. And, I'm grateful for that.
It's definitely when you know you've got a good one, when they stick around in the hard times.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And then, I have to say to have Jason Wojnar there too, tour rep, because he was my tour rep when I was with Big Bowling before, and he got signed on to be a tour rep for Brunswick when I signed with him, and he and I have become very, very close friends. We've been through a lot together, and we've meshed very well together, and I think it's pretty cool that we just work so well as a team, and we always talked about that day. Always talked about winning a major. So then we won in Illinois, and that was awesome. Gave him a big hug after that, and then we won last week, and it was so cool, so cool, and I couldn't have done it without any of them.
Well, Marshall, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for sharing all your stories and experiences, and I look forward to maybe having you on again in the future to talk about future majors that you win.
Absolutely. I'd love that. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck the rest of this week, and take care.
You too. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Join us next time on The Bowler's Mind.